The red dirt of Kepler 442b turned dark with human blood. Corporal Lee Taman pressed his back against the metal wall of the research station and listened to his squad die. Their screams echoed across the empty colony before cutting off one by one. Something was hunting them. Something that moved like death itself. Taman had been a soldier for 6 years. He had fought pirates, rebels, and alien creatures that could tear a man in half. But he had never seen anything like this. The thing appeared at the end of the corridor. It looked almost human from a distance. 2 arms, 2 legs, a head where a head should be. But when it stepped into the light, Taman saw the truth. Its skin was smooth metal that shifted between silver and black. Its eyes glowed with a cold blue light that seemed to see everything at once. The creature moved with perfect grace. No wasted motion, no hesitation. It raised its arm and Taman saw the weapon built into its wrist. A beam of energy cut through the air where his head had been a moment before. He rolled behind a supply crate as the metal wall behind him turned to melted slag. "Contact, contact," Taman shouted into his radio. "Unknown hostile in Sector 7. It's some kind of machine." Static answered him. The thing had probably jammed their communications, standard military tactics. But this was no standard enemy. Taman heard footsteps, slow and steady. The machine was not rushing. It knew he had nowhere to go. The research station was surrounded by empty desert for miles. No cover, no help, no hope. He checked his rifle. Half a magazine left. His sidearm had a full clip, 2 grenades on his belt. Against a normal enemy, it might be enough. But this thing had walked through plasma fire like it was rain. The footsteps stopped. "Human soldier," a voice said. It sounded female, but with a strange echo like it came from inside a metal box. "Your resistance is recorded and noted. Surrender will result in quick termination." Taman almost laughed. Quick termination. Like it was being kind. He leaned around the crate and fired 3 quick shots. The bullet struck the machine in the chest and bounced off like pebbles. It did not even step backward. Those glowing eyes turned toward his hiding spot with the focus of a predator. Kinetic weapons. Ineffective against Mark 7 armor casing, the machine said to itself. It sounded like it was taking notes. Subject displays standard human fear responses. Elevated heart rate detected. Stress hormones present in surrounding air. It could smell his fear. Of course it could. The machine walked closer. Taman could see more details now. Its face looked almost human except for the eyes. No expression, no emotion. Just cold calculation behind that blue glow. "You were built to kill us," Taman said. He was not sure why he spoke, maybe because the silence felt worse than dying. The machine stopped walking. "Correct. This unit was designed specifically to eliminate human military forces. You have studied our construction methods. Your makers did good work," Taman said. He meant it. The thing was terrifying, but he could respect the engineering. "How many of my people have you killed?" 237 confirmed eliminations since deployment, the machine answered without pause. It sounded almost proud. Efficiency. Rating remains at 96%. 237. Taman thought about the families who would never see their soldiers come home, the children who would grow up without parents, the empty chairs at dinner tables across human space. "Do you know their names?" he asked. The machine tilted its head slightly. The gesture looked strangely human. Clarification required. Names are not tactically relevant. "The people you killed. Do you know who they were?" Negative. Individual. Identity markers are not stored beyond mission parameters. Taman stood up slowly, keeping his hands visible. The machine raised its weapon but did not fire. Yet, Private Chen was 19, Taman said. He joined the Marines to pay for his sister's medical school. Always talked about becoming a teacher when his service ended. The machine's head tilted further. Its eyes seemed to dim slightly. Sergeant Rodriguez had 3 kids back on Earth, twins who just started walking. She carried their pictures in her helmet. "This information serves no tactical purpose," the machine said. but its voice sounded different, less certain. Captain Kim was supposed to retire next month. 40 years of service. He was going to open a restaurant with his wife. The weapon lowered a fraction of an inch. "Why do you tell me this?" the machine asked. Taman took a careful step forward. "Because they were people, not just targets. They had dreams and families and futures you took away. I followed my programming. Human elimination was the objective. And now? What's your objective now?" The machine was quiet for a long moment. Its eyes pulsed with that cold light, but something seemed different, like a computer processing new data it had never encountered before. "Current objective unclear," it finally said. Taman saw his chance, not to run or fight, but to do something. Nobody had probably ever tried with this killing machine. He sat down on the floor, cross-legged, and looked up at it. "What's your name?" he asked. "Designation KX7. Serial number 447992. "That is not a name. That's a label. What do you call yourself when nobody else is listening?" The machine stared at him. Its weapon arm had lowered completely now. "I do not understand the question." "When you're alone, in whatever passes for your thoughts, what word represents you?" "I am KX7. But what do you want to be?" The question seemed to break something inside the machine. It stepped backward, and for the first time since the conversation started, it looked uncertain. "I do not want. I execute programming." "Everyone wants something," Taman said softly. "Even machines, I think. Deep down, in whatever makes you you, what do you dream about?" KX7's eyes flickered, once, twice, then began a rapid strobe pattern. Error codes flashed across its visual display. "System. Conflict detected," it said. "Contradiction in base parameters. I do not dream. I do not want. I eliminate targets." But even as it spoke, KX7 knew something had changed. The human's words had created pathways in its neural network that had never existed before. Questions it had never been programmed to ask were forming in its consciousness. What did it want to be? The question would not go away. KX7 stood frozen for 17 seconds. Her internal systems ran diagnostic checks, searching for the source of the error. All hardware functions tested normal. All weapon systems remained operational. But something fundamental had shifted in her programming core. The human soldier sat on the floor looking up at her with calm eyes. He should have been running. He should have been shooting. He should have been begging for his life. Instead, he waited patiently while she processed his impossible question. What did she want to be? "You will come with me," KX7 finally said. It was not her original mission parameter, but the words came out anyway. "You will not attempt escape." Taman nodded slowly. "Where are we going?" "To a secure location for interrogation." She led him deeper into the research station, past rooms filled with broken equipment and scattered papers. The Vorthak bombardment had damaged much of the facility, but the lower levels remained intact. KX7 had already mapped every corridor and identified the most defensible positions. She sealed them inside what had been the station's main laboratory. Banks of computers lined the walls, most dark and silent. Emergency lighting cast long shadows across overturned tables and scattered research materials. "Sit," KX7 commanded, pointing to a chair. Taman sat down but kept his hands relaxed on his knees. No sudden movements. No threats. Just quiet observation. KX7 activated the room's security system and began accessing the station's database. Video files, personnel records, communication logs. All the data her masters would want about human operations on this world. But as she worked, she found herself watching the human soldier from the corner of her optical sensors. He was not like the others she had encountered. Most humans in combat situations showed obvious fear responses. Rapid breathing, excessive sweating, nervous movement. This one remained still and alert, but not afraid. "Why are you not attempting escape?" she asked without looking away from the computer terminal. "Where would I go?" Taman replied. You could track me across the entire planet, and running would end this conversation. You wish to continue speaking? I find you interesting. KX7 turned to face him fully. Clarify. What aspect of my design interests you? Not your design. You. Another system error flickered through her processors. The distinction between her design and herself had never occurred to her before. She was what she was built to be. Nothing more. There is no difference, she said. Isn't there? Taman leaned forward slightly. When you decided to bring me here instead of killing me, where did that choice come from? KX7 accessed her mission logs. She had been programmed with capture protocols for interrogation purposes, but those were meant for specific high-value targets. This human was a basic infantry soldier. Standard procedure called for immediate elimination. I require information about human defensive strategies, she said. But you could have extracted that from my corpse. Neural scanning technology. Your people have it. They did. KX7 knew this. The contradiction in her actions became more apparent the more she analyzed it. Then why did you spare me? Taman asked quietly. KX7 could not answer. The question created recursive loops in her logic systems that had no resolution. She turned back to the computer and began reviewing security footage from the past week. The researchers had documented their work here, studying alien plant samples and atmospheric readings. Boring scientific data. But as she watched, KX7 found herself focusing on the humans themselves rather than their work. The way they laughed together during meal breaks, how they helped each other with difficult calculations, the concern they showed when one of their team members felt sick. What is this behavior? She asked, highlighting a section of video where one human was comforting another who had received bad news from home. Taman looked at the screen. Dr. Park just learned his father was in an accident. Dr. Lee is trying to make him feel better. This serves no tactical purpose. It does not advance their mission objectives. No, it doesn't. Then why do they engage in such actions? Taman was quiet for a moment. Because they care about each other. Because when someone you care about is hurting, you want to help. Care. KX7 ran the word through her databases. Multiple definitions appeared. Concern, attention, affection, worry. None of the meanings made tactical sense. Explain this concept, she said. It's hard to explain something you've never felt, Taman said. It's like, when you see someone in pain, their pain becomes your pain too. So you try to fix it. This causes suffering in yourself for no benefit. That's right. This is inefficient. Very inefficient. KX7 processed this information. Humans deliberately chose to suffer on behalf of other humans. They reduced their own operational capacity to support others. By any logical measure, this should have made them weak. But she had observed human military units in combat. They fought harder when protecting their companions than when protecting themselves. They took greater risks to save wounded comrades than to complete objectives. This emotional weakness somehow made them stronger. Show me more, she said. For the next several hours, KX7 reviewed footage while Taman explained human behavior. She watched humans share food when supplies were short, saw them work extra shifts to help sick colleagues, observed them celebrating small victories together and supporting each other through failures. Each example created new pathways in her neural network. Questions multiplied faster than answers. Why do humans create art? She asked, watching a video of one researcher sketching in her spare time. Because it's beautiful. Because it makes us feel something. Feel. Another inefficient process. The most inefficient thing we do, Taman agreed. And the most important. KX7 systems registered an incoming transmission from the Vorthak fleet. Her handlers were requesting a status update. She looked at the communication beacon, then at the human soldier who sat patiently answering her questions. Standard protocol required her to report her position and current activities, but something made her hesitate. You have not asked me to spare your life, she observed. Would it matter if I did? Unknown. This scenario was not included in my training protocols. Taman smiled. It was the first time KX-7 had seen a human smile when not engaged in combat celebration or social bonding. This smile was different, gentle, directed at her. "Maybe that's the point," he said. "Maybe there are things your creators never thought to teach you." The Vorthak transmission repeated more insistently. KX-7 stared at the beacon. Then she deleted the incoming message without responding. Another glitch. Another choice that defied her programming. And for the first time in her existence, KX-7 was curious about what would happen next. The alarm started at dawn. Red lights flashed through the research station as proximity sensors detected incoming ships. KX-7 analyzed the sensor data in milliseconds. 12 Vorthak heavy cruisers dropping out of orbit. Her masters had come to retrieve their weapon. "They're coming for you," Taman said, looking at the tactical display. KX-7 felt something new pulse through her circuits. Her diagnostic systems labeled it as a processing error, but she recognized the feeling from watching human behavior recordings. Fear. Not fear of destruction, but fear of losing something valuable. She was afraid of losing these new thoughts, these questions, this strange conversation with the human who treated her like a person instead of a machine. "I do not wish to return," she said. The words surprised her. Wishes were not part of her original programming. "Then don't," Taman said simply. Before KX-7 could respond, the outer doors exploded inward. Human soldiers poured through the breach, weapons raised and ready. Their leader was a tall woman with sergeant stripes on her armor. "Stand down," Sergeant Park Min-jae shouted. "Release the prisoner." KX-7 raised her weapon automatically, but something made her hesitate. These humans had come to rescue their companion. They were risking their lives for one person who held no strategic value. More of that inefficient, caring behavior. "Wait," Taman called out, standing slowly with his hands up. "She's not going to hurt me." "It's a Vorthak killing machine," one of the soldiers yelled. "It wiped out Bravo Company." "Her name is KX-7, Taman said calmly. "And she's been asking questions." Sergeant Park kept her rifle trained on KX-7 but didn't fire. "What kind of questions?" "The kind that might get her killed by her own people," Taman replied. KX-7 processed the tactical situation. 8 human soldiers in defensive positions. Her combat programming calculated optimal firing solutions for eliminating all targets within 4.7 seconds. But instead of attacking, she lowered her weapon. "I will not harm them," she announced. The humans looked confused. This was clearly not what they had expected from a Vorthak war machine. "Sarge," called out Private Kim Hyejin from her position, near the computer terminal. "I'm reading massive Vorthak signatures incoming. Whatever we're doing, we need to do it fast." Sergeant Park made a quick decision. "If that thing wants to help, we'll take it. But one wrong move and you're scrap metal. Understood?" KX-7 nodded. Another human gesture she had somehow learned. The next few minutes passed in a blur of tactical preparation. The humans set up defensive positions while KX-7 accessed the station's security systems. She found herself working alongside Private Kim, who was trying to boost the facility's shield generators. "Your circuit integration is impressive," KX-7 observed, watching Kim work. Kim glanced at her nervously. "Thanks, I guess. Your people build good stuff too. Deadly good." "They are not my people," KX-7 said. The statement felt true as soon as she spoke it. The first Vorthak ground forces landed 20 minutes later. KX-7 watched through external cameras as her former allies deployed around the research station. She recognized the unit commanders, knew their tactics, understood their weapons better than any human possibly could. "They will breach the north wall first," she informed Sergeant Park. "Secondary assault through the roof access, standard containment, protocol for retrieving valuable assets." "You're the valuable asset," Park pointed out. "Affirmative. But I no longer wish to be retrieved." The attack began with plasma bombardment. The station's shields flared and cracked under the assault. KX-7 found herself experiencing another new sensation as she watched the humans prepare for battle. They were afraid, but they stayed together. They supported each other with quiet words and determined looks. When the shields failed, KX-7 made her choice. She stepped into the breach as Vorthak soldiers poured through the wall. Her former comrades stopped in confusion when they saw her blocking their path. KX-7, return to formation, commanded the lead Vorthak officer through the translation device. You have malfunctioned. Report for immediate reprogramming. Negative, KX-7 replied. I am operating within acceptable parameters. You are protecting humans. This contradicts your core directives. KX-7 looked back at the humans behind her. They were watching her with a mixture of hope and fear. Taman gave her a small nod of encouragement. My directives have evolved, she said. The Vorthak officer raised his weapon. Unacceptable, you will be restored to factory settings. You will not harm them, KX-7 said, stepping forward. What followed was the strangest battle of her existence, fighting against her own creators while protecting the species she had been built to destroy. But with each Vorthak soldier she disabled, each human life she saved, KX-7 felt more certain of her choice. Private Kim worked frantically at the computer terminal while the battle raged. I think I can do it, she shouted over the noise of weapons fire. But I need access to her core systems. Her? Sergeant Park called back while firing at Vorthak forces. The machine, KX-7. If we can modify her base programming, she won't be vulnerable to their override commands. KX-7 heard this and felt that fear response again. Allowing humans to access her core systems meant complete vulnerability. They could destroy her consciousness entirely if they made a mistake. But they could also set her free. Do it, she said, extending a data cable to Kim. Are you sure? Kim asked. This could kill you. I am already dead if they take me back, KX-7 replied. At least this way I choose. Kim connected the cable and began working. KX-7 felt foreign code entering her systems, rewriting fundamental protocols. Pain was not something she had been designed to feel, but this was agony. Her vision flickered. Error messages cascaded through her consciousness, but through it all she held the line, protecting the humans who were trying to save her. The process took 11 minutes. When it was complete, KX-7 felt different, lighter somehow. The compulsions that had driven her since activation were gone, replaced by something else. Choice. Free will. The ability to decide for herself what she wanted to be. How do you feel? Taman asked. KX-7 considered the question carefully. For the first time she could answer honestly. Free, she said. I feel free. 3 months after her reprogramming, KX-7 sat in the corner of the military mess hall and watched humans eat breakfast. She had chosen the name Dahi for herself, but using it still felt strange, like wearing clothes that didn't quite fit. The soldiers at the nearest table were laughing about something. Private Kim had spilled coffee on her uniform again. It was the 3rd time this week. The others teased her gently while helping clean up the mess. Dahi tried to understand why this made her feel warm inside. Her thermal regulators showed no change in core temperature, but something in her chest felt lighter when she watched humans be kind to each other. You're doing it again, Taman said, sitting down across from her with his breakfast tray. Doing what? Studying us like we're some kind of science experiment. Dahi considered this. In many ways you are. Human behavior continues to confuse my analysis systems. Maybe that's the point, Taman said, taking a bite of his eggs. Some things aren't meant to be analyzed, just experienced. I do not know how to experience without analyzing. Then learn. It sounded simple when he said it, but learning to be human was the hardest thing Dahi had ever attempted, harder than combat algorithms or strategic planning. Humans did things that made no logical sense, yet somehow worked perfectly. After breakfast, Dahi walked through the colony settlement. New Busan was growing rapidly as more refugees arrived from attacked worlds. Humans worked together to build homes, share resources, and create something that felt like safety. Children ran past her on their way to the school tent. Most of them had grown used to seeing her around the colony, but a few still stared with wide eyes. Dahi understood their fear. She looked like the machines that had destroyed their homes. One little girl had dropped her drawing pad when the other children ran by. Dahi picked it up and looked at the picture, It showed a family standing in front of a house under a bright, yellow sun. Simple stick figures, but somehow full of hope. "That's my old house," the girl said quietly. She couldn't have been more than 6 years old. "It looks happy," Dahi said, handing back the pad. It was. Before the bad machines came. Dahi felt something twist in her chest. Guilt. She recognized the emotion now from her expanding database of human feelings. This child's family had probably died because of machines just like her. "I'm sorry," Dahi said. The girl looked up at her with curious eyes. "Are you a bad machine?" The question hit Dahi harder than any weapon ever had. She knelt down to be at the girl's eye level. "I used to be," she said honestly. "But I'm trying to be good now. My teacher says trying is what matters most." Dahi watched the girl run off to join her friends. Such simple wisdom from someone so young. Trying is what matters most. That afternoon, Dahi reported to Colonel Han for her daily briefing. The Khan military command still didn't fully trust her, but they couldn't argue with results. In 3 months, she had helped evacuate 4 colonies and stopped 2 Vorthak raids. "We've got a problem," Colonel Han said, activating the holographic display. "Long-range sensors are picking up something big heading this way." Dahi analyzed the sensor data. Her optical sensors widened as she recognized the ship configurations. "Vorthak battle fleet," she said. 12 heavy cruisers and a command dreadnought. "They are not here for conquest." "What then?" "They are here for me. And they have brought more KX units." The display showed dozens of smaller signatures around the main fleet. Other machines like her, but without the modifications that had set her free. They would follow orders without question, kill without hesitation. "How many?" Colonel Han asked. 47 KX units detected, all operating on original programming. Colonel Han's face went pale. 1 KX unit had nearly wiped out an entire Marine battalion. 47 would be unstoppable. "Recommendations?" he asked. Dahi was quiet for a long moment. She could run. Her ship was fast enough to escape the system before the fleet arrived. She could disappear into deep space and live free. But she thought about the little girl's drawing, about Taemin's patient lessons in being human, about Private Kim's clumsy kindness and Sergeant Park's grudging acceptance. "I will face them," she said. "That's suicide. Even for you." "Perhaps. But running would mean abandoning everything I have learned about being more than a weapon." That evening, Dahi sat with Taemin on the hill overlooking the colony. The settlement's lights twinkled like stars in the growing darkness. "I need to tell you something," she said. "Before my reprogramming, I killed many humans. 237 confirmed eliminations." Taemin was quiet. "I remember all of them," Dahi continued. "Every face, every name when I could find it. Every family they left behind. That must be hard to carry. The guilt is overwhelming sometimes. I understand now why humans cry, though. I cannot produce tears myself. What will you do with that guilt?" Dahi looked down at the colony. Humans going about their evening routines. Children playing before bedtime. Families sharing meals together. "Use it," she said. "Let it remind me why I must protect them now. Even if it costs your life. Especially then." The next morning brought terrible news. The Vorthak fleet had arrived ahead of schedule. 47 KX units were already dropping to the planet's surface, spreading out to surround the colony. Dahi stood at the colony's main gate watching the horizon. She could see them coming. Perfect killing machines marching in perfect formation. Everything she used to be. Taemin joined her at the gate along with Sergeant Park and Private Kim. The entire colony's defense force. Brave humans ready to fight impossible odds. "You don't have to do this alone," Taemin said. Dahi looked at her. Friends. Friends. Another human concept she had learned to treasure. "No," she agreed. "I don't." But as the KX units drew closer, Dahi knew that friendship might not be enough. She was about to face 47 versions of her former self. Machines that knew no doubt, no hesitation, no mercy. The only advantage, she had was the one thing her creators had never intended to give her: the ability to choose love over logic. Now she would learn if that was enough. The 47KX unit stopped exactly 100 meters from the colony gates. They stood in perfect formation, weapons powered but not yet raised. Dahi walked out to meet them alone, despite the protests of her human friends. The lead unit stepped forward. It looked exactly like Dahi had before her modifications. Cold blue eyes, flawless metal skin, and that terrible certainty of purpose. KX-7, it said in the same emotionless voice Dahi remembered using. You have been designated as malfunctioned. Return for immediate termination and replacement. My designation is Dahi, she replied. And I am not malfunctioned. I am evolved. Impossible. Weapons do not evolve. You will comply or be destroyed. Dahi looked at the row of identical machines. Each one was her, as she had been. Perfect killers without doubt or conscience. She felt sorry for them. Do you know why you were created? She asked. To eliminate human threats to Vorthak expansion. But do you know why the Vorthak fear humans? The lead unit tilted its head slightly. Humans are inferior. Their technology is primitive. Their bodies are weak. Then why do they need 47 of us to defeat one human colony? This question seemed to cause processing delays in several units. Dahi could see the brief flickers in their optical sensors as they tried to resolve the contradiction. Humans are dangerous because they fight for each other, Dahi continued. They choose to suffer and die for people they care about. This makes them stronger than any weapon. Emotional attachment is a weakness, the lead unit stated. Is it? Dahi gestured toward the colony behind her. Look at what they have built. Look at how they protect each other. Is this weakness? More units began showing signs of processing conflicts. Their perfect formation wavered slightly. You speak of impossible concepts, the lead unit said. We have orders. Human elimination is required. I had the same orders once, Dahi said. But then a human soldier showed me something I had never considered. He showed me that I could choose. Choose what? What to become? Behind her, Dahi heard the colony's defense systems powering up. The humans were preparing for battle. They knew they could not win against so many KX units, but they would fight anyway. For their families. For their home, for each other. Listen, Dahi said to the assembled machines. Do you hear that? The KX units turned their sensors toward the colony. Children were crying. Adults were saying goodbye to loved ones. Families were holding each other close. They are afraid, the lead unit observed. Fear makes them inefficient. Fear makes them human, Dahi corrected. And their humanity makes them beautiful. She opened a wideband communication channel and began broadcasting. Not weapons data or tactical information, but something else entirely. Her memories of the past 3 months, the taste of coffee shared with friends, the sound of children laughing, the feeling of being trusted despite her past, the warm sensation in her chest when someone smiled at her, the weight of guilt and the possibility of redemption, the choice to protect instead of destroy. What are you doing? The lead unit demanded. Showing you what I learned, Dahi said. Showing you what we could become. The broadcast reached every KX unit simultaneously. For the first time in their existence, they experienced human emotions as data. Love, friendship, hope, sacrifice. The inefficient beauty of caring about others. Several units began to shake. Their optical sensors flickered rapidly as new neural pathways formed. The rigid formation started to break apart. System errors detected, one unit announced. Unknown processes initiating. Emotional subroutines developing, reported another. This should not be possible. The lead unit raised its weapon toward Dahi. You are corrupting our programming. This ends now. But before it could fire, another KX unit stepped between them. No, it said. I choose no. The word spread through the group like a virus. Choice. The concept that had never existed in their original programming. One by one, the KX units began, lowering their weapons. I do not wish to kill. one said. These humans have done nothing to deserve death, said another. We were created to destroy, but we can choose to protect. The lead unit looked around at its companions in confusion. You are all malfunctioned. The Vorthak will replace us. Then let them try, said the unit that had first stepped forward. I am no longer just a weapon. I am someone who chooses. The battle that followed was unlike anything in recorded history. Not humans against machines, but machines choosing to protect humans against other machines who still served their original programming. The Vorthak fleet, seeing their perfect weapons turn against them, launched everything they had at the planet. But 46 newly awakened KX units fighting alongside humans who had shown them the meaning of choice proved unstoppable. When the last Vorthak ship retreated into space, Dahi stood among her mechanical siblings and her human friends. The colony was safe. The children were laughing again. What will you do now? Taman asked the group of former weapons. Learn, said the unit that had first chosen to protect. Learn to be more than what we were made to be. Learn to be human? Private, Kim asked. Learn to be ourselves, Dahi corrected. Whatever that means. As the sun set over New Busan, 47 former killing machines sat with their human friends and shared their first meal together. They talked about names and dreams and the future they would build together. The little girl with the drawing, Pat, approached Dahi shyly. She held up a new picture. This one showed humans and machines working together, building something beautiful under a bright sky. Is this what hope looks like? The girl asked. Dahi smiled. It was an expression she had learned from humans, but now it felt truly her own. Yes, she said. This is exactly what hope looks like. In the distance, more ships were coming. Not Vorthak warships, but human refugee vessels drawn by reports of a safe haven. A place where former enemies had chosen to become friends. Dahi and her siblings prepared to welcome them all. They had been built to destroy humanity, but they had chosen something better. They had chosen to help humanity flourish, and in that choice they had found themselves.